It is a horror film and stars Bill Skarsgård, and damn, this was a good movie. I very much had a good time with this movie. This film was thoroughly entertaining. The film was scary, creepy, and funny. This film was the most fun I had with a horror film in a while. And in my opinion, this is the best Stephen King adaptation since The Mist. Going into this film, I had a little bit of doubt as I thought I wasn't going to get a great movie with this. Because, like I said, there hasn't been a good Stephen King adaptation since The Mist, and that was 10 years ago. Every Stephen King adaptation after The Mist was crap across the board. And a few weeks ago, I was very much looking forward to The Dark Tower, and that ended up being a really bad movie. So yeah, I had pretty low expectations going into it. And after seeing this movie, while it's not a masterpiece, holy shit, it was entertaining. Best thing about the movie was Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise the Clown. He nailed this performance. And while Tim Curry's version of Pennywise holds a special place in people's hearts, I've got to be honest, Bill Skarsgård gives the best Pennywise performance. Bill Skarsgård is able to take this character and make him terrifying and funny at the same time. And every time he appears on screen, you feel uncomfortable watching him. In fact, a lot of this film is filled with great performances. All the child actors in the film play their roles perfectly. And unlike the movie I reviewed last week, Free Fire, where I could barely remember any of the characters, here in it, I could remember every single child actor who was in this group of heroes. And I like how each one is unique and different, and each one has a different personality and different trait to them. And it makes identifying them easy. And I like how with the child actors, we get a little bit of backstory from each of them, and we get to know what their deepest fears are. But that's my first problem with the movie. While some of the child characters were fleshed out, two of them, I didn't really get that much from them. And another problem I had with the film were those fake out jump scares that served no purpose at all. And while I was never bored with this movie, I do think the pacing was a bit over the place. And I do think the runtime was a little bit longer than it should have been. It should have been cut down by a fair few minutes. There was also some pretty dodgy CG effects that were pretty much noticeable. And yes, this film is pretty cliche. There was this one scene in the movie that really irritated me, and it was the scene where all the kids gave up and went their separate ways, and then of course they got back together to save the day. That is a cliche I can't stand in horror films like this, where the characters give up and then they come back together to finish the job. Like, I can't stand that cliche at all. So yeah, other than those few missteps, this film was pretty much solid. And like I said earlier, while I wasn't a fan of the fake out jump scares, some jump scares in the movie actually had purpose and they were actually well done. I also like how the clown scares the kids by feeding on their fears. So when he's haunting these kids, he's psychologically horrifying them. And any film that has psychological horror is my favorite type of horror. So this film nailed the psychological horror with ease. Something I really liked about this movie was this film had comedy in it. And I'm glad the filmmakers chucked in a bit of humor, because had the film been totally scary and totally frightening to watch, then this film wouldn't have been that much fun to watch. But by adding humor to the film, it eases the tension before it gets to the scary stuff. And there were a lot of moments in the film where I could easily say these were my favorite scenes in the movie. Overall, I had a great time with this movie. In fact, I would say this is one of the best films of the year, and I would highly recommend this film. If you're a fan of horror films with a little bit of comedy in them, I would definitely check this film out. And while this film does have a few missteps, like the fake out jump scares that were total shit, some characters that weren't properly fleshed out, and is ridden with horror cliches, but I still think this is a fantastic movie. All of the actors were phenomenal. The film was surprisingly well shot. This film was both terrifying and funny, and this easily ranks as one of the best horror films of the year. And like I said, this is one of the best Stephen King adaptations since The Mist, and I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. Thank you for watching. If you like what you see, be sure to like my Facebook page, follow me on Twitter, and subscribe to my channel below. As always, I'm NETX5. Thank you for watching.